All right, you can see this is my 23rd presentation on a PowerPoint. This is the first one I've made, actually. My name is Peter Kudla, as mentioned. I put my headset on before I got up to the stand so that I could make sure I remember everything. And if you've ever heard of the term men are from Mars and women are from Venus, Arapahoe County and Inverness have met a guy from Mars, and that's me. So when we come to the rebrand and to the redefinition, they would definitely vote me for the Martian of the Year. So branding is a very, very interesting commodity, as Dan has mentioned. And we have lived with different areas for history, and Dana will address that. And certain places are already branded, but we have to go in and rebrand. And I think when you take a look at the concept of rebrand, we're establishing a new gut, deep feeling, something that was there, something like Larimer Square, something like the particular part of downtown Civic Center. But today we're creating a new gut, deep feeling about a TOD. All of you have pencils, and one of the things that I'd like you to do is write the word on the far left-hand side, urban, far right-hand side, suburban, and really big letters, I want you to write the word Midtown. In terms of a history lesson, we have numerous examples of history, and as we come back to look at history, it's very curious to see how many times this subject has been a topic of focus. There's a question that says, what are exurbs? And the definition of an exurb is an exterior ring of prosperous communities that serve as commuter towns for an urban area, TOD. The term was coined in 1955 in Exurbanites, a book by Augustine Comte Spektorski. I think he was Polish. And he was made popular by Henry Dent in his book, The Roaring 2000s. Rebranding, moving on with the whole topic and action steps. There are steps in rebranding. You got a period of rethinking, reevaluating, repositioning, replatting, redeveloping, rebrand, and rebound. And let's start with the top. Well, you can see these are some of my old buddies. These are all the old thinkers. And you can see they were rethinking, and the think word has not been able to come up in their particular case because this slide is so old. Consider this now. What do you have right now? Why is it that way today? And why should we rethink? Why should we rethink about it? We moved to a crazy guy, the guy from Mars. He's a little bit different than the previous three guys who were, you know, sort of more of a genius type, and this guy's just more of an artist. I have been very privileged to have an opportunity with Inverness as an overall collective partner and facilitator. And Inverness was a legendary conception of a gentleman and a group of people by the name of George Beardsley and Sam Gary. And it was established, the date up there says 2004, but it was really established, I think, in 1975. And in all due respect, that's 35 years ago, I think, in that vicinity. The old Inverness Business Park. Remember the word, old Inverness Business Park. It was a conference center, it was a hotel, it was a golf course, and it was an office park that demonstrated urban sprawl. But I have to tell you, it was a genius idea back at that point in time. It was an opportunity to have a campus as opposed to verticality. What's the current Inverness Park situation? What's the new vision by the crazy nut on the right-hand side? Is retail spaces, restaurants, residential communities, cultural venues, and guess what? Light rail stops. Why did we have to rethink? It's opportunities for financial gain. It's a strategic new transportation option in the geographic location, and it's a new niche for high-density living and planning. So it is about change. Things do change over the years. We're into a reevaluation. And what does reevaluation translate to? Who should the evaluators be in this process? The key points of rethinking, what works plus what doesn't work. I think you have to think about both. You have to use a scale to judge those concerns, so there has to be measurables. There has to be a blend with the current. How do you enhance change? How do you enhance the image? Factor time, factor money ratio. Down at Inverness, there has to be a strategy. And in this particular case of rebranding, it's the assessment of the demographic needs. Who are the people? What are the constituents that we're trying to touch and engage, to carry along? Those loyalists that Dan talked about. How do you get them to follow and to unite? We have to look at the consumer for recognition and appreciation. You are not going to have success with a rebrand if you don't have the consumer who recognizes it and appreciates it. Another key component in the strategy is you got to emphasize strike points of value in the area. You just can't create something. You have to evaluate and really hit those strong points of value in the specific area that you're trying to rebrand, and that's what's happening at Inverness. The next part of this rebrand is repositioning. One has to take a peek at where the position was and consider what was the former position of this particular site, this TOD area, Dry Creek, I-25. What was it back in 1975? If I asked Dana Crawford, she'd say, Kudla, that was a farm. And, you know, she might say to me, they still have hay growing down there. But that's the former position. And Beardsley and team, thank you, took that field and created a spectacular golf course, a conference center, a spectacular office business park as they envisioned. They had a great position. The former position has changed. So you have to consider in this repositioning, what is the current position and what is the potential reposition. So now we also have to, as you reposition, the team has to know why. What are the causes? Transportation availability, much different than what it was before. Urban sprawl. That word was never used in 1975. I don't think they even know how to spell it. Communication channels. Dan once again said we're over-communicated at times. It's true. New networks. If I get plugged up to one more network and have to remember one more security code, I think I'm just going to continue to go to sleep. If anyone sees, I still have the old-fashioned daytimer. The surrounding area changes. I mean, everyone in this room, from young to mature, and you know I use the term mature comfortably. Supposed to have a little, you know, haha. Anyway, but the bottom line is that we've seen areas change. I came out here in 1978, so I had the great privilege to watch the evolution of Lodo in Larimer Square. I remember the Newsteader building and the positions in all the changes that took place. The example right now that we've been talking about is Villaggio. It's the light rail connection right at Dry Creek and I-25. It was a business park. It clearly defined that on all the documents, all the promotional materials. It was the iconic representation of what it is. And you know what? In all due respect, I have tremendous admiration for what it was, but I also know that now it's changing. It's supposed to be, and it will be with collective efforts from Arapahoe County, from the Southeast Business Partnership, from the Inverness Group. We talked about collaboration earlier in one of the videos. That's what this is all about. So we're trying to create a vibrant mixed-use neighborhood, a neighborhood. You know, I also have this thing about words. You know, communities, everybody talks about a community. When you talk about Bonnie Bray, you talk about a neighborhood. When you talk about South Park, you talk about a neighborhood. Communities evolved in the suburbs. What we're doing at Inverness is we're creating a neighborhood. That's the current and potential reposition. For us, it's all about visibility and density. It's working to change the priority of the position and becoming the magnet and to stimulate energy. There is a big effort there. You have to have a collective belief system to become part of the change in priority. There's some people that don't want to change. People don't want the office park to change its image, to stimulate energy. It is incredible to me that you have a business park that literally buildings become security tunnels. We could use them as prisons. And people don't get outside of that building to meet anyone who's across the fairway on hole number 7 or on hole 13. They become prisons. And I use that term in a tough way, but they are very secular. We all know the difference between a replat and versus redevelopment. They go sort of hand in hand. The replat situation hinges on the culmination of rethinking, reevaluating, repositioning, and it's to define the kind of vision which is the most vibrant. Recent replats that we've seen over the years, Stapleton, off the charts, Lowry, DIA, Fitzsimmons, and of course I threw Inverness in for the sake of a comparison. This is a good slide. One of my staff people in the office put down some words, and Inverness is the replat key points: residential, retail, office, cultural, entertainment. What's it create? New. Could you speak into the speaker, please?
That would be iconography.
Iconography, whatever. It's up on the board. Dana, if you can say it for me, do it when you get up. I think it's called the new iconic something. It creates a new energy. It creates a new buzz, and it connects people. This is not about just connecting traffic. This is about creating hearts, connectivity between people, interests, having a true engagement. The redevelopment component, you know that there's constant development in the life of law, and that was quoted by Mohandas Gandhi. In other words, that commitment to development, the law of life, says take an existing structure, tear it up or tear it down, and then make it beautiful. Recent developments, redevelopments, everyone knows about the Highlands, everyone knows about Lodo, and the term redevelopment, I said to Ashlyn, a facelift. I was going to go ahead with further dimensions in that, but we'll just leave it at facelift. That was supposed to be a joke, too, Ashlyn. I got to practice on my stand-up. Okay, Lodo, very close to all of our hearts for success, representation of Denver. The Lower Downtown Historic District. It was an act of the City Council that Dana Crawford had a tremendous amount of leadership in 1988. The intention of preservation and vitality, architectural and historical and economic value, enactment of a zoning ordinance, building height limitations, and strict guidelines for rehabilitation and new construction.